Hi, it's Passion Sunday 2020, and I've decided today to talk to you from my computer, from my little desk in my corner, where, like lots of people this week, I've been working from home. And so I've got my headset, my microphone on, and I'm talking to my computer as if people were listening, and I know you are. Um, the sound and the video quality might not be quite as good as if I'd set up a decent camera. But I thought this was an appropriate way to talk today. So I want to take us on a little bit of a journey and tell a story of something that happened to me not that long ago. And in order to help me do this, I'm going to take you on a journey. And it wasn't that long ago. It was September, October last year. But I went to a place that I'm now going to take you to. I was actually on my way back from Italy at the time. I traveled by bus and I stopped off on the way back in a place called Lyon. So welcome. Let me take you now to Lyon, a little square in Lyon. And here we are. This is where I was sitting back in, I think it was the beginning of October. You can see behind me this lovely square and those wonderful little round seats. And if you can find this place on Google Street View, you will see what a wonderful place this is. I'd love to take you there in person. It's a beautiful city, and this was a very beautiful square. I had been in Lyon for just a few hours, and I was sitting down in this very square to have a cup of coffee, as you do, and to have a bit of a pause and enjoy the sunshine. And suddenly, my phone went off, and it was someone from the diocese. They were phoning from the office, and they said, "Please don't worry." Which is always a good indication that it's time to worry. Please don't panic. This is a drill. It's an exercise. And what we'd like you to do is to imagine, if you will, that there is a major incident going on back in your area. They didn't know where I was. And we need you to find within the next half hour three people, three ministers who we would like to we would be available to attend training this evening at 5 o'clock, and then to staff a reception centre for families of those affected by this incident. Don't panic. This is just a drill. Don't call the papers. You have half an hour starting now. So, of course, they didn't know I was sitting in a beautiful sunlit square in Lyon. But with the miracles of technology and the phone in my hand, I thought, oh, okay, let's do it. So I picked up my phone and went through my contacts, and I started calling. And I managed, you'll be pleased to know, within that half an hour to find three people, three ministers from our clergy teams in Milton Keynes who were both available at 5 o'clock that evening. You can imagine the conversations. And I said, please don't panic, but I need you to do the following thing or be available to do the following things. And so it was an interesting exercise for me. It was an interesting exercise in emergency planning and emergency response, but it also taught me two very important things. The first is that when you're in an emergency, when you're in a crisis, you need to go command control. You do this, you do this, and you pass on the information down the chain of command. And that is the only way to operate. You've got a limited amount of time to deal with the crisis that you're facing, the things that need to be done, and you simply do what you need to do when you need to do it. Very straightforward. The second thing is I found particularly interesting was the question, who did I call? And what I discovered was that the people I called, the people I picked up the phone to, were people that I knew I could trust, that they would take seriously what I was asking, because I didn't ask them in a kind of urgent way very often. They would know that I was asking seriously, and they would respond and do what I was asking them to do. I didn't call people who I might have worried would have spent half an hour discussing, do we do this? What should we do? Oh, no, actually, this isn't the right plan. Perhaps we could do something else instead. I phoned people that I already had a very good working relationship, people I knew were team players, people I knew would get it and respond. And that I found particularly interesting. In other words, it was the relationships, it was the working relationships that had been built up during normal times that then kicked in and helped when we were in a crisis. So, of course, at the moment, we are in a crisis, and there are lots of people trying to do their best in the midst of the coronavirus situation. And we understand how serious that is. And so many of us are responding quickly and hopefully doing what we are asked to do and doing it without too much fuss, because that's the best thing to do in a crisis. But this particular crisis, this particular virus, is doing some really difficult things to us because it is an antisocial virus. It purposefully targets the relationships and the links we have between us to spread its contagion. And the only way to fight it is to become antisocial, to practice self-isolation or social distancing. And by doing these things that are really counter to our nature as social beings is the only way we can fight it. And this, for me, mirrors some of the problems we face as a world at the moment, that in many ways we've never been so connected. We can travel around the world so quickly, we can share information so quickly, and obviously, as we've discovered, we can also spread diseases so quickly. We have never been so connected, but we've also never been so fragmented. And as a society and as a community, the things that divide us have become increasingly problematic. And these two things stand together, increasingly connected, increasingly fragmented. And into this situation, we find the coronavirus. We are entering a really important time of the church's year. This is Passion Sunday. We have Palm Sunday coming back up. We have Easter. We are celebrating the core of the gospel. And the core of the gospel is fundamentally about relationships. It's about God reaching out to a broken world and aiming to bring us closer together to God, but also closer together to each other. The core of the gospel, the core of the work that Jesus is doing with us is about reconciliation. It's about peacemaking. It's about building relationships. It's about building unity, community, communion with each other and also with God. And so we have, as Christians, as followers of Christ, a particular challenge in this present time. While we're dealing with social distancing and an antisocial virus, we need to find ways of connecting, of building relationships, of trusting each other, of working together. So now is not the time to pull up the drawbridges completely. We need to stay away physically. We absolutely do. That is the most important thing we can do. And we need to make sure that we stay safe and we keep other people safe. But we also need to make sure that we build relationships, we build links, and we trust each other, and we learn to work together better. So pick up the phone, do some online working like this. If you can do a video call, do a video call. People love to see each other's faces. But even if all you can do is pick up the phone and talk to someone, please do it. Text messages, also good. WhatsApp groups like the one at Cornerstone is brilliant. Please connect, because that is the core of what we are called to do as God's people. It's what the church, I've just put Cornerstone worship area behind me. I'm not there, trust me. But spiritually and relationally, that is where we are now. We are in that place that we share, trying to build connections with each other, with God, reconciling some of those broken things, and reaching out to a world that desperately needs connection, relationship, community, trust. Let's pray for each other this day. Let's keep building the kingdom. Stay safe and look after each other.